So Inspector Kevin Williams sends his regards, but he is on a wonderful, hopefully having a great time, well-deserved vacation in Europe on a Viking cruise. So hopefully him and his wife, his lovely wife Sherry, are having a great time, and they're really enjoying themselves because, like I said, he deserves it. He's a good man. I was at the last community meeting up north, and I did a little bit of an introduction, but for people who weren't at that particular meeting, my name is Mike Toplansky, and I'm the Deputy Inspector in the 2nd Precinct. I'm the Executive Officer. Although I'm new to the Executive Officer role in the precinct, I'm not new to the 2nd Precinct. And June, who's filming me, knows that I was here. She even made me wear the mic. I wasn't going to do it, but she pleaded with me. So I was here for 4 years, 2 years in patrol as a patrol lieutenant, and then I was fortunate enough to go back to the 220 Command as the Precinct Crime Section Lieutenant Commanding Officer. So I was here, I did a lot of work with Joe Rose from the town. I know Kenny, I mean, see a lot of familiar faces here. Happy to work with Chris Lau, the new Public Safety Director, so it's really wonderful coming home. Ken said it's like coming home, and that's how I feel. I have been a police officer for 32 years. I served in a variety of assignments. I was a gang sergeant, I was a crime section sergeant. I did a lot of what you see in the back, what Sergeant Casey and Officer Wustenhoff do. I was in COPE when it was a separate command. I did all of that stuff. Then when I made sergeant, I went to the 5th Precinct, and I was there as a patrol sergeant, a COPE sergeant, a crime section sergeant, and a gang sergeant. So I did that whole gamut. Then when I got promoted to lieutenant, I went to the 2nd Precinct, and I was a patrol lieutenant, and then I went to, like I said, take charge of the commanding officer of the 2nd Precinct Crime Section. From there, I was fortunate enough, I got promoted. I became a detective lieutenant in the 6th Squad out in Selden. I was a detective lieutenant there for a little over a year. Struggled with whether or not I was going to take captain because I really loved the investigative work. Most of my career is an investigative background. So I did take captain, and I was assigned to the 3rd Precinct as an operations officer. And if anybody's familiar with the 3rd Precinct, it's like running a triage unit down there sometimes. Wonderful, wonderful people, wonderful community who deserve our support and protection, and they really came out to support us. I love the people in Brentwood, in Central Islip, at Bayshore. Just wonderful people, wonderful people. And then, very recently, I was promoted to the rank of deputy inspector, and it was this little choice of where I was going to go, but when I had an opportunity, I was assigned to the 2nd Precinct. I was just overwhelmed with that. I am the father of 5 children. I've been married to my wonderful wife, Carrie Ann, for many years. Seems like forever, but she is my best friend and my soulmate, and I say that honestly. I am an active member of my parish. I live in Sayville. I elect her down there at the church. My youngest is 19 or 20, he'll be 20 next month or this month, and my oldest is 32. I have 2 grandchildren, both of them that are 14 months apart. My daughter got married a little later, so she wanted to do it right away, so that was a big thing. But they are the love of my life. I love them. My youngest son, well, everybody's out of the house, including the 20-year-old. My youngest son is a sophomore at West Point. So he's serving his country. So I am, thank you. He's actually finished the school year, and he's up training some of the newer cadets that are coming into West Point. And then after he's done with this in a month, he's going to be down going to Fort Bragg, shadowing a Green Beret officer. So, nice. You know, I appreciate his service, and I think he kind of grew up in the whole service above self thing, so I'm very, very happy about that.
Did any of your kids want to follow in your footsteps and then to PD?
What's that? Yes, you know, he still has a big interest in law enforcement. And what I told him too, because I left law school to take this job 32 years ago, I said, we have at least 10 graduates of West Point that I know that are on our job. And lots of military that are in, right guys? I mean, they're all over. So, especially with the war on terror and everything for the last 20 years. So I'm proud of him and I'm proud of his service. And if he does follow in my footsteps and is fortunate enough to get on this particular job, a job that I love, I'll be happy to support him. So that's my life. So let's get into a little bit of the slide. What I'd like to do, and you can see I've done these a few times before in the 3rd precinct, but essentially I'd like to go through the PowerPoint. We'll touch on a bunch of points. Maybe we'll ask, if somebody has a question that's pertinent to the slide, we'll do it. But if anything has something very, very specific, we have officers in the back. You can hold your question to the end, and then if it's about a specific incident, and then we'll address it. Or if it's something, we have representatives from the town here, that maybe it's a town-related thing, we could kind of work on it together. But we'll get through the PowerPoint. So here I am, Deputy Inspector Mike Toplansky, Suffolk County Police Department. We always go over the crime index numbers, and I got to tell you, this is amazing compared to my going over my index numbers in the 3rd precinct. Not even comparable. No murders, thank goodness, right? 50% down in robberies between 24 and 25 year to date last year. Down in assaults. These are all major index crimes. What's not up on here is violent crimes essentially in the 2nd precinct over this time are down over 30%. Okay, so that's really fantastic. And these numbers, just so when I go over these numbers, I like to make this point. They don't just happen, okay? It isn't because the people got nicer, okay? It's because of the work that we're doing, okay? It's the guys in the back. It's our focus on data-driven policing, okay? Our use of our resources like the Real-Time Crime Center and all of the things that they have that are available inside that unit. Is anybody familiar with the Real-Time Crime Center at all in Suffolk? Basically, Karen, I know you are, but have you seen it? Did you get a chance to tour it? The one up at headquarters? Yes. Okay. It's just, they moved it to another location. Walls of TVs, all kinds of technology that's used, LPR cameras, vigilance systems, flock, all types of, to keep us connected amongst the different precincts. And that really helps us to focus our resources. So that, with our resources, our leadership, as you all know, Kevin Catalina is the new police commissioner. He came in January, and he brings an incredible wealth of knowledge. He was a one-star chief in the city. He has over 30 years of experience in policing. He did some time in the sheriff's office, and he is just an amazing, amazing guy, and glad that we're actually I have an opportunity to work for him when we do too. We're in great hands. Chief Doherty, Chief of Detectives, Chief Soto, Chief of Operations, Chief Poronsky, Chief Hardy in Patrol, Chief Scrimma, Chief McCormick. I mean, just the leadership it's the best I've seen in 32 years. So I'm very, and I could say that because I've been around.
And 2 of those were from the 2nd precinct.
Yes, 2 of those were from the 2nd precinct. So that's, 3rd and 2nd are well represented up there. And I was very close with Assistant Chief Scrimma. He's a 2-star now in Patrol. So they have a direct line to me. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Whatever. Commercial burglaries are up a little bit. A lot of that has to do with the fact that we're starting to charge them now. When we actually in Target or Home Depot, when the stolen merchandise goes in, we give them a trespass affidavit not to show up at that particular location again. Then we see them again. Then we remove their license and privilege, and we actually charge commercial burglary now, which is a great thing because the bail laws in this state stink, okay, or suck. They do. They allow, if we charge somebody with a grand larceny and it's an E felony, we pretty much have to let them back out right away. When you go to burglary, you go right up to a D felony. So we don't have to bail them, okay? Or there's bail required, but we can hold them. So it does matter. Larcenies are down. This is a good thing. Again, this is because of our retail theft programs that we have trying to combat the amount of larceny. They've gone down considerably from COVID. When COVID was there, the numbers were much higher. I think a lot of that has to do with people just had nothing to do, so let's go out and steal stuff. Vehicle thefts, we keep on hammering this, not up too much, but up enough. We'll get to the slide that we always have, make sure you take your keys out of your car. It's amazing the technology that some of these criminals are coming up with to get into cars. They have the abilities to basically program the key. As long as they could get a signal from it, they can actually use that to open car doors. And a lot of times you could determine whether or not a car door is open based on whether or not the mirrors are closed on some of the newer cars. Someone said to me, Ronnie Ryder said it to me, he keeps his keys in a like a black box,
Faraday
like
box.
a Faraday box. Can you let me say Faraday?
Sorry.
I like to say Faraday.
You can get it on Amazon.
Okay.
I have two
Yes,
of them.
okay. So Faraday is Faraday box. So we have Faraday bags, which we utilize for cell phones to actually prevent anybody from getting in there. But the Faraday box is great, and that is a great idea, Jim. So let's move on here. So index crimes, these are those things that I was talking about, the vehicle theft. These are the 28-day. Usually when we do any type of analysis, we stay on top of it to make sure that we're within the 28-day period. This is the area that we focus on. And here, we have a couple burglaries that are up. These are incorporated in numbers that I just ran off the slide before. But again, one robbery, not that bad in the last month. Vehicle theft's down a little bit. Larceny's down in the last month. We do have commercial burglaries that are up, but a lot of that has to do with how we charge it, like I said, and assaults are up. So now I'm going to start to focus on, I know everybody prepares their PowerPoints a little bit different. A lot of the news that we do when it makes the Suffolk County press release, it's nice to see the work that some of our second precinct officers are doing. But I addressed a bunch of different things, a number of fatal accidents, serious physical injury accidents. One thing I will mention, and Kevin Catalina, our PC, has mentioned this, since index crimes and violent crime is down so much in Suffolk County, and that's again thanks to our officers and our data-driven approach, there is a renewed focus on trying to reduce the amount of fatalities and serious physical injury accidents that are occurring in this county. And Suffolk County is unfortunately one of the deadliest counties in New York State. It is the deadliest county. And that's for a lot of reasons. Speed, there's open roads. But if you've seen, we've started to make some progress, for instance, with the street takeover task force that are going, right? So the commissioner instituted a street takeover task force. He increased the site teams, which we have operating in our precinct for the summer months. So we really, and we're focusing our efforts on high crash locations to try to reduce the amount of fatalities. It's called selective enforcement and serious physical injury accidents. So, and this is why. So this is Suffolk County major case. This is one of the fatals that occurred last month, a hit and run crash of a bicyclist. And again, these e-bikes sometimes can be a scourge, right? We see them, people going around. But in this particular case, the e-bike actually was struck from behind by a small white SUV, and then the driver fled. Okay, so that was leaving the scene. But this, I just spoke to the major case unit. This investigation is progressing. So, and I expect some movement on this soon. Okay. So, one of the things that we like to do, of course, in our unit is in our precinct is focus on quality of life issues, both at the patrol level and our crime section units. This was on May 9th, we conducted a SLA inspection after getting reports at LAJAS DELI on 156 Depot Road in Huntington Station. And in conjunction with we used the New York State Liquor Authority, Town of Huntington Code, our awesome partners, Town of Huntington Fire Marshal, and we did the SLA inspection at night, which is the best time to do it because you could get a lot of people there. And we charged them with a disorderly premise, which basically meant there was a lot of people like milling about outside the premises. And we had a cocaine arrest out of that location, as well as some controlled substance arrest as well. And we also were able to issue several state liquor authority ABC law violations. So that was great work by the crime section. Another quality of life issue that pops up all over our town, press release May 21st, a massage parlor raid. In response to numerous community complaints, crime section officers with the Town of Huntington Fire Marshal, again, code enforcement inspectors, again, Town of Huntington is phenomenal. And I have to say this. Oh, sir, question.
Let's finish what your law was, and then I can...
Okay, I appreciate that, thanks. So basically what we had is we had multiple violations here. We always try to charge the felony if we can with this unauthorized practice of a profession. That's actually an e-felony. And when these things pop up, there's a lot of different things that are associated with it. You don't like to see this stuff when you go into a restaurant. You don't like to see your kids exposed to this type of stuff. So we also charged prostitution a misdemeanor. Desk appearance tickets were issued to several individuals, but they were charged with the felony, which is unauthorized practice of a profession. This is one of the other fatal motor vehicle accidents. This happened a couple of weeks ago, shortly after this was on COMMACK Road, just north of Euclid Avenue in Dix Hills. This is a Mazda veered into the southbound lanes of traffic and struck a tractor-trailer. I believe that this individual was either drunk or high that swerved into the roadway, and I felt bad for the tractor-trailer operator who was riding, just doing his business, when the other guy was pretty much up all night. So he was treated with release, thank God, and the detectives processed the scene. Before I go on to something else, my next slide's going to have to. You have a question?
Yeah, thank you. Going back to the e-bike and some other thoughts. I mean, sometimes there's no light system. I mean, this fellow was out at like almost midnight. You know, maybe no rear light of sort.
Mm-hmm.
You know, compared to a different type of vehicle, a motorcycle. So, because we have this kind of debate, these things are going 30, 40, sometimes 50 miles an hour. You know, unfortunately, is there a helmet law or no helmet law? You know, there are kids that are riding some of these things also.
There should be there's a helmet law attached to this. They should be wearing helmets.
Yeah, I don't know what age, you know, children might, you know, I don't have.
We'll get you the specifics that you want. It's in the vehicle and traffic law. What's your question?
Yeah, because, I mean, well, for the rest of the public, I mean, who do you know, where do you know, is it in the schools, you know, to educate some of the, or the parents, you know?
Listen, just to jump in there. I actually spoke to Inspector Dave Regina, who's in the 3rd Precinct now, and he sits on like the Governor's Safety Traffic Committee up in Albany. He's very, very knowledgeable about the traffic law. And it's not all about enforcement. The biggest thing that we can do is educate people about everything, not just e-bikes, but we're talking about to try to reduce fatal and serious physical injury accidents. And he brought up a slide one time he showed me. It was where there was if you drill down on the incident itself, you can find that there is somebody at fault, obviously. That's why we don't call them accidents anymore. They're crashes. In one particular instance, a pedestrian was killed, okay, but the pedestrian wasn't crossing at the crosswalk. And it was literally 25 feet away from where he was killed. Now, if he would have crossed at the crosswalk, the person would have seen him and there wouldn't have been a fatal accident, but that's what happened. So a lot of it has to do with education for pedestrians, because that's what happened a lot in the 3rd Precinct. It doesn't happen as much up here, but that adds to the statistics that go on throughout the county. So,
Could I just say something?
go, yes,
I live in a neighborhood.
your name?
My name is Barbara Wright.
Hi, Barbara, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And I see, where I used to see children riding bikes and everything else without helmets, and because I'm the mayor of my street and everything, and I tell
Oh,
them.
you're the mayor of your street, okay.
Yes, I am.
I got one of those and it's not me.
No, that's okay.
It's
And
my
I tell
wife,
them,
Carrie
and within 24 hours, they come around with the helmet on there. I said, otherwise, I'm gonna take your blank to the police department because
Okay.
you don't listen.
A lot of times it's the problems with bicycles a lot is that you're dealing with juveniles. So there's not much we
But
can
they're
do.
afraid of me, so it
You
doesn't make any difference.
Well, that's a good thing. But you can't really issue a juvenile a summons. You
Why
could
not
take the
then?
bike. There are different things that you could do. But a lot of it's not just the juveniles that are driving these e-bikes. It's adults as well. So recently, I had to put this slide up because of the Boulder, Colorado. Everybody's familiar with that incident.
Yes.
And I figured I would address it. One of the things that I love about Suffolk County, and I love about the 2nd Precinct, and I loved about the 3rd Precinct, is that the county's and the precinct's diversity. I embrace that. One of the things that Chief Mronsky now used to say to me all the time is like, when you go into sometimes a deli or a bodega down in the 3rd Precinct, sometimes all it takes to get people to react to you in a positive way is to just smile and say hello. I completely agree with it, and I saw that right there. So We have diversity in ethnicity and religion, and right now in the world, there's a lot of turmoil. And we saw it now coming to the homeland, right, when we had the incident in Boulder, Colorado. How does that affect us? It affects us because we have a large Muslim population in Suffolk County, in particular in the 2nd Precinct, and we also have a large Jewish population in the 2nd Precinct and in Suffolk County. And all of those people that are, whatever religion you practice, I'm Catholic, but we deserve to be in peace. We don't deserve to be attacked, whatever your particular political viewpoint is on an issue. And I'm not going to get into that at all. That's not what this is for. But what we did do is we obviously, in response to this attack, we increased our vigilance of having on the hourly checks of synagogues, but not only synagogues, mosques as well, because we don't want any retaliation there as well. So synagogues, mosques, we reached out to places like the JCC, the mosque down the block from the precinct. We touched base with all, right, Jamie? I mean, all the various leaders and let them know that we're here to support them. Support, also to notify us of any suspicious activity. And this guy that was apparently, I didn't know this, but he posed as the gardener in the Boulder attack. And he tried to get a handgun and wasn't able to because he had entered the country illegally. So therefore he went to a Molotov cocktail style attack and planned this for over a year. So, it begs the question too is, always be vigilant wherever you are. Make sure that you know how to get out of a particular situation, right, if you're in it. But also realize too is that, Boulder, Colorado is a nice community and this happened there. So it could happen anywhere. So some other quality of life issues that are on the front burner right now. So you're aware that New York State passed the marijuana law, right? Where basically certain amounts of marijuana are now able to be possessed legally. However, you're not allowed to, it's a regulatory issue, but you're not allowed to sell marijuana or marijuana-based products, cannabis-based products on the shelves of a store without a license. You have to have that. And we have an obligation to our citizens to basically make sure that kids are not going into these vape shops and purchasing cannabis-related products. So we recently conducted an inspection in conjunction, again, with the town of Huntington. And I'm going to say this to you guys that are here. So, I love working in the 3rd Precinct, and I had a lot of great contacts when I was in the town of Islip. But nobody works together with the police department, in my experience, like the town of Huntington. So I want to just thank everybody for that. So we issued summonses to several store owners, the Evolve Smoke Shop, Venom Smoke Shop, Rolly Smoke Shop, because basically we had products seized that contained cannabis on the shelves. And, whether you view it as a money grab on the part of the state, which probably is, I think, they still have to follow the law. And we're going to be involved and make sure that the kids are not getting hold of this stuff. This I thought was pretty interesting. 3-day surveillance period, CSU conducted a surveillance on illegal gambling activity, specifically street dice games. And the parking lot of All Weather Tire, 72 Pulaski Road, you guys are familiar?
Uh-huh.
So surveillance revealed organized behavior, strategic lookouts, vehicle obstruction. Can you imagine if all this stuff was used for good? Strategic lookouts at vehicular obstructions to conceal the criminal activity. They're seen using currency, exchanging currency, and red and green dice rolled from paper coffee cups. So during their active observation, they initiated a tactical approach, and lo and behold, yet an MS-13 member, Pedro Lopez Zunga, verbally alerted others of incoming police presence, and they were discarded in nearby bushes and vehicles. And we were able to recover the dice and the cups, and 8 individuals were apprehended, and 11 appearance tickets were issued for promoting gambling and loitering in the 2nd degree. So not a big thing, we have officers in our anti-crime units pulling over people getting guns, very, very serious stuff. But this is a quality of life issue, and this kind of caught my eye when I was looking at it. And I said, you know what? people who live in that particular area, this is going to be noteworthy to them. Back to our enforcement activity that I was talking about before, where increased activity within a particular area. So SCPD site team, once again, did enforcement in the 2nd precinct on the following dates during the month of May. A total of 153 summonses were issued during the month, 133 moving violations, and 20 non-moving violations. And these are some of the locations and targets that they had: Wolfville Road, Jericho Turnpike, Route 110, 25 at Depot, which we all know, Siemens Neck, and New York Avenue. So that's a pretty good month. And they'll continue over the summer with enhanced site presence based on the additional people that they got for the summer. We actually sent an officer from our precinct, Officer Rudolph, to go assist. I mentioned before 2 fatal accidents in May. There was an e-bike hit and run, which major cases investigating. We're close to being, hopefully having a conclusion in the one I mentioned on Euclid. Arrests in May. Again, our officers were active. 112 is the total. 85 misdemeanors, 111 charges, 27 felony arrests made. 2 assaults where we made the arrests on, and 1 gang member was arrested. 10 others were arrested by anti-crime. Big, too. 12 DWI arrests. Not bad. Very, very big. DWI arrests help prevent serious physical injury accidents and fatal accidents that occur within the precinct. I don't understand why people are still driving drunk. Even I know how to use Uber or Lyft. And right, she's laughing, right? It's true. I mean, how easy is it, right? On your app, it'll bring your car right to where you are. It's incredible.
It takes 2 minutes.
It takes 2 minutes. It's incredible. What's that?
Even a taxi. I think
Whatever. Taxis are foreign. I have 5 kids, so I'm aware of the latest and the greatest. I use Lyft or Uber, but Uber specifically. They even use Uber Eats too. That's pretty good. I don't understand it, but they still happen, and they cause. I think there was a statistic not too long ago from the National Transportation and Safety Board that said that half of all fatalities in the United States occur because of alcohol that people are driving. So people are still driving drunk.
It was higher than that.
Yeah, it probably is.
62.
Yeah, it probably is. And it's a scourge, and not to get serious, but over my 32-year career, I've responded to enough accidents where I've seen the most horrific things that you could possibly imagine. I've seen, if one of you guys, it's the first time in your life that you saw something so horrific, I've seen it, 150 times, and I still have to go home to that stuff. Mental illness, mental health is very important for police officers. Domestic incidents, important, 189. One of the things that this is probably a very frequent call that officers respond to. You would think, and it spans all ethnic, all socioeconomic groups. People have domestics. Very, very big call that happens. And a lot of bad stuff happens on domestics because people who would normally not act in a certain way, act a certain way during. And we make a lot of arrests out of that. 68 crimes, 28 arrests that were made this is actually, I thought was pretty good. So the overdoses in the last 28 days, I got the overdose report. We had 6 non-fatal, which is basically we're able to bring people back by the use of Narcan. We actually even have a booth sometimes at some of the fairs and parades where we actually give out Narcan. I would highly recommend that anybody, because you would think, well, my son or daughter's not a drug addict. No, you could be exposed to them. I've actually watched videos of officers on stops where they've actually had wind blowing when they did the car stop and fentanyl went into their face, and they went and they had to overdose. Have you seen it? I mean, bad, really bad. So for the year, 3 fatal. Again, any fatal is a bad thing, but we're low, which is good, and 21 non-fatal. And I think that has a lot to do with the Narcan that our officers carry. Sir?
Can I get a breakdown? I'm with the Northport East Northport Drug and Alcohol Task Force.
I can't hear you, sir.
Can I get a breakdown of the towns, maybe later?
Sure. Not now, but we'll get you that information. So he wants a breakdown of where they occurred. There is a PIN map. I know that they include that. What's that?
I know they keep it.
Yeah, they do. So 100% I'll give it to you. I didn't give the Hamlets out. Yes.
You can go, there's a New York State website, you can go on, and they'll send you 2 doses in
Oh, okay,
Narcan.
great. That's great.
It's free.
Excellent, didn't know that. Thank you. Thanks. Shot spotter, everybody's familiar with this? The shot spotter? I have mixed feelings on this particular technology. It's good and it's bad. I wish it was a little bit more accurate. There is a human component that's involved in it when they're, so we had ShotSpotter years ago, and they brought it back, and it's better than it was, clearly, and it's very helpful, and because it actually is dispatched in the car, so the officers know when the shots go off and they're able to respond. That leaves it to our officers being trained to actually go out and canvass and to look, and this is put my Dick Lieutenant cap back on, but you know, canvassing for shell casings or noticing the difference of whether or not it's a firework or a backfire from a car, which fortunately it is in most cases, but sometimes it isn't. It's just that I think we need to, my own opinion, again, this is my opinion, we need to tweak it to actually become more accurate. But on the other end of that, I know there's a person that's actually listening to the gunfire. So they're making an evaluation too. So not as accurate. But we did have a couple of them. Most of them were negative. Actually, in this case, all of them were. We had 1, 2, 3, 4. Starting in the beginning of the month, we had 112 Broadway. So anybody knows there's acoustic speakers around a specific community that picks up the shots in that specific area. And again, it does help with responding officers if they actually hear them go off. All right, then followed by a call. And you kind of, right, Mike, you probably know after a certain period of time whether or not it's legit or not. If you get a call of, you know, someone's up at that Huntington hospital, a victim of a gunshot wound, and then you had a shot spotter activation about an hour earlier, maybe there's some legitimacy to that. So that's where it's very helpful in investigations. June?
Can the officers hear the audio
Yes.
of the trigger?
Yes,
Okay,
they
great.
can. So that's a good point. So if you have the ShotSpotter app, which they do in the car, they can actually replay the audio of it, and you can determine whether or not it's a shot. And when you hear the difference, you can hear a difference between whether or not when a shot's fired and a firework. But sometimes you can't. You know, maybe to an experience. What do you think, Mike? Yes? No?
I'd say if you've heard enough of them, you can kind of.
Yeah, experience.
Obviously fireworks.
Right.
Obviously gunshots.
Right. So I think the technology is great, but it needs to be refined a little bit. So all of the ones that we had were negative last month, and I looked them up actually just before. We always say this, I have 2 grandchildren. I have a 20 by 44 foot in-ground pool. The first thing I said to myself, because I counted at least 9 drownings in my career. It is the worst thing that you could go to as a parent or a grandparent. It happens for all, I've seen it happen always. I've seen neighbors' kids jump the fence, get in the pool. I've seen children in the pool with adults and drown. I've handled it as a patrol cop. I've handled it as a patrol sergeant. I've handled it as a lieutenant. And I've handled it as a detective lieutenant where I've actually had to do the investigation. And that is one of the worst things that you could possibly do. So although we look at, okay, pool safety tips, yes, this is very, very relevant. You know, supervise, never, we have our, I mean, it's probably me because it's a lawyer. I'm like, eyes on, who's got eyes on Donnie? And then, you know, they'll look, I got him, and it's almost like we hand them off to each adult. And what I also did was I invested in a pool safety fence, okay, for my property. So if he were to get out or open the door because he's walking and he's kind of into everything, Jamie, you have young children, right? Pool safety, I mean, how big is that? Huge. Stu Leonard's child died of a pool. Yeah, he's big on that.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Years ago. So he's big on that. So we did have Donnie go to, my grandson, go to a Jewish center to learn, to get swimming lessons and establish his float, they call it. I thought that was helpful, but maybe not enough. I think I'll go better to keep him away from the water.
For care or number 5, I mean, isn't it mandated that there has to be a fence around the pool?
Yes, if you have a pool, you have to have an alarm that's going on the outside, like the door, especially if you have young children. But that doesn't mean you have to have a fence around your pool. No, no. Mm-mm. No.
I thought the town of Huntington, I think you did.
But again, it might be based on the town. Okay, I live in Islip. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? Do you? Okay. All okay. So in Huntington, you have to have a fence. Did you know that already? And just
No, it's a state code issue.
state code?
If the fence is just around the pool, you don't need the alarm, but if the fence is around the whole property, you could go out the back.
That right. That's what I have in Islip, and I needed the alarms before they would give me the permit for the pool. But this is a big issue to me. It's horrible. So if you have a pool, follow the regulations. Put a fence around it, safety fence, alarms. It can all help. Reminders again, while we have these stolen vehicles, you know, over half of the vehicles that are stolen from in our precinct and other precincts, it's because people leave the keys in the car. And I got to say, in my own family too, I'm like, hun, you're married to a police officer. Like, why are you leaving your fob in the car? I don't understand. Oh, I'm like, okay, so the car's going to be stolen then, right? So it happens in my own family, and I have to have the reminders for my own family.
Inspector,
Yes, sir.
do they issue summons to those people?
I'd love to issue summons to my wife. Can you, if I ever do that? What's that? I probably should. But then I'll be sleeping in your garage.
Join me.
Okay.
Yeah, but why not? Why do the people that leave their keys in the car being issued a summons?
We can't do that. We don't have we don't have the resources for that.
It's in the law.
What's what?
You get a ticket for leaving it.
No, we're not going to do that.
That's a bad attitude, maybe.
My attitude? My attitude's a great attitude. Look at this guy. He's challenging me already. First one.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I listen. That is a great. What? To let you leave your keys in the car?
Yes.
I'm sure it is. You know how big the VTL book is? This big.
Yeah, I've read it many times.
You've read it. Okay.
He's retired.
Okay.
I'm not gonna argue.
I'm kidding. Go
What I'm
ahead.
trying to do is talk about, you bring it up, and which is great.
Yeah.
About education.
Yes. So important.
Or maybe, you know, if your neighbor got a ticket for leaving his key, he'd go to the next one and say, hey, wait.
I think if we had, you know what, it's such a traumatic event to have any of your property stolen. I was kidding before, no, it's terrible. So I think we wouldn't be looking to add insult to injury, even though it would be the person's fault. So I understand what you're saying. I really, really do, and I support that. My wife would be the first person who would get a ticket, but I don't know if we would practice that as a policy. We would just educate to say, take your keys out of the car. So, but I understand where you're coming from. We mentioned this the last time at the last gift card scams. Really affect the old elderly people. We just had something recently that they did, check washing. Is everybody familiar with that? Real bad problem with that. You know, I open Newsday, I'll read an article. Check washing occurs everywhere in every county, all over the place. You know, people get the thing, they wash the check out, they write their name, and then, you know, we do make arrests on it. Our financial crimes officers, our detectives are involved in trying to thwart those scams that occur, but it's still an ongoing process. The gift card scams, I have people trying to scam me, you know, 2-3 times a day. There's phone calls coming. It's terrible. You know, they get your number as either it's leaked or something, and they'll get it and they'll call, and I'll even hear them screwing up on the other side, not knowing how to pronounce my name, Toplansky, and what address I live in, and I'm like, could I give you my checking account? I mean, it's bad, it's terrible. So beware of this. Nobody's gonna call, you know, the police department's not gonna call ever to tell anybody your son's under arrest. That's not gonna happen, okay? We're not gonna ask for bail, okay? That's another one that's going on right now with the New York State Police, right? You guys have heard of that. Terrible. But people actually do it. And it gives us great satisfaction when we're able to kind of get in front of it and set up the scam and get somebody and place them under arrest. But the best way to do it also is to just not fall for it at all. Don't talk to anybody on the phone. Don't give money over the phone. You know, if you want to, you could always, you know, write or go online and go to their website and donate money if you want. I never in 32 years have ever given, hi, this is the New York State Fraternal Order of Police. You remember this when we first, we're soliciting donations for the death of an, okay, that's a tragic thing. But I politely say I don't donate to fraternal organizations over the phone. I just don't do it. And I do donate, but I choose my cause, and I'll go to the website. Big one I go to is Tunnel for Towers. I love that. But, you know, I've gotten a scam from Tunnel for Towers too, and I'm not going to give it to them on the phone. Just don't do it. Okay, that's a big thing. Here, they'll go through a whole litany of download software from a text or a pop-up. No, that's a scam. Police or government official asking for money, scam. Transferring monies via Bitcoin. That's as soon as you see Bitcoin, you know it's a scam, okay? A curry is coming, contact police. All right, that's when we try to get involved, and we have done that before. It's wonderful when that works out. But I hate that it gets to that point. And it specifically affects the elderly, which makes it even worse. You know, my mother's 83 years old, and I tell her, don't answer the phone. You know, just don't do it. And if you're gonna talk to me first, you know, but hello, you know, my mother's the nicest person on the phone, you know, she'll talk to anybody. Next meeting, July 1st, 10 a.m. at the Harbor Fields Library. The inspector put this in here. This is about security camera registry. It's the SCPD SHIELD program. This basically just incorporates businesses to basically allow, you know, have your cameras installed, and then allows us to make the SCP to make arrangements to retrieve the video. You're not really connected into any of our systems in the real-time crime center, but we know that when we're doing investigations, it's very, very helpful, especially when I was in the squad, to know that place has a camera, that place has a camera, that one, that's registered. We could just pull out a whole list of who's registered. So that's very, very helpful.
Does Suffolk County provide the cameras?
No, we don't provide the cameras, okay, but you could register here for the cameras. It's checking your video surveillance system. As always, 2nd Precinct Cope, you want to take a picture of this? All right, scpd.org, Crime Stoppers, Community Liaison is 854-8253. Everybody got that? And that's it. Thank you very much. Questions? June?
Any update on the shooting situation that happened on East 15th Street?
No, but I'll get you one. I'll get you an update on that. All right, so if you call me
Investigation
tomorrow.
ongoing.
Ongoing. I didn't have any new news for that, so I didn't bring it. But if
Okay.
you want something, I'll ask a specific question tomorrow, and I'll get you something. Ma'am?
Something happened across the street from my house on Sunday.
Okay.
There was some non-uniformed officers in unmarked cars talking to one of my neighbors.
Okay.
The way the whole thing, I was watching from across the street, the way the whole thing, it just seemed off. Like it didn't seem legit.
Okay.
I took a picture. I don't know if you could let me know if this was a real thing or if this was someone.
Sure, no, I mean, if you have the date and time of when the incident occurred, I could do that. I mean, but remember too, if you don't feel that something's legitimate, you could dial 911, and we'll send a uniformed officer to respond. And then when the uniformed officer is there, you can then get information that, okay, yeah, these are legitimate plainclothes officers that are conducting an investigation. And we do have a lot of plainclothes officers. You know, a lot of the information that I showed you was a lot of the great work that they did, surveillance and, you know, pulling over cars, getting guns out of cars. Our anti-crime team, led by Sergeant Commons here, is a fantastic group. They really, really are. They get a lot of guns off the street. They do a lot of drugs. Great stuff. So
You're gonna dump someone afterwards and try to find.
yeah. If you just give the name and information, your name in the street, we'll be able to put in the address, location, the date and time, and see whether or not they're there. Especially if it's, we'll find out what unit was working, and we'll see if it's legit.
Best it said police, some said FBI, so I don't know.
FBI is different. So,
Well, there's,
has anybody seen ICE or HSI work in the precinct, working in the precinct at all? So they're out there. And again, Suffolk County does not have we're not playing any role with assisting them with apprehending people. Now, we will respond if they are in trouble. They are law enforcement officers, but we're not actively assisting them. We're a little different than Nassau County. So, we're not trying to create a culture of fear, but they're out there doing, good work as well, in terms of getting violent criminals off the street. So, ma'am.
I had heard, I think it was last week, that someone who was very dangerous escaped from Huntington Hospital and they were locked down. I was wondering if there's any follow-up report?
Yes, so that individual,
That question?
okay, what she asked was last week, there was an individual that was an elopee from Huntington Hospital that had fled, and we were able to apprehend them. So at that particular point, the schools were locked down. We actually got an added feature, this for you, Chris, to notify the town as well. So they're aware of it too, as far as for the town facilities. In that particular situation, it happens. It wasn't somebody where they were in police custody. They were there being treated for something, and then they made a determination and that person left. And then they notified us, and then we responded and apprehended that suspect and brought them back, all right, for the treatment that they need. But, guys did a good job. It took a little while. The schools were locked down for a little bit, but they did a good job recovering. Yes, your name?
My name is Heather.
Hi, didn't get your name because I want to. Tracy, nice to meet you. Heather.
Hi, I wondered if you could just clarify what the policy is during weekend hours with regard to noise complaints. I know noise is a code enforcement issue, not a crime, but of course the code enforcement isn't available. I don't know how to word this right.
Okay, we'll get to it.
I'll tell you to call the precinct if it's over the weekend.
Okay, we don't have a non-emergency number for complaints, so if you feel that you have an issue that needs to be addressed, you need to dial 911. So we'll send an officer out to evaluate the situation, even if it's a noise violation, because perhaps the officer will be able to intercede to stop the noise from occurring. But what are you referring to specifically?
My question is, okay, a lot of times there are specific houses right near mine that are it's like every weekend or every other weekend past the noise, the 11 o'clock limit. It's been that I've called the police 2 or 3 times.
911?
All the way as late as 4 o'clock in the morning, the party's still going on. And I'm not clear on what the policy is as far as whether more than one person has to.
No. If one person generating a 911 call is enough to have an officer respond. If you want to give your address to our officers in the back, and then if we have a specific area that I could have our CSU officers respond to target that particular area, especially if there's loud parties going on, I'll be happy to do that. I love shutting down loud parties when I was a cop. It was my favorite thing to do. To see people running.
Can I piggyback on that question?
Sure.
Same question, same situation, probably a different street. Okay. But if
I want them all.
the town code is 11
Speak
p.m.
up a little bit, please.
The town code is 11 p.m.
Town code she's talking about. Good.
and the cops come out.
Yep.
Because I dial 911.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it's, 11:30, it's blaring.
Mm-hmm.
And what is done, because this is what happened,
So,
what is done?
okay, so under normal circumstances, when we respond to a party, okay, that's not out of control, it's just loud.
Loud.
You would be surprised. In most cases, hold on, in most cases, people will shut it down like, ooh, now, I just invite all my neighbors to my party. That's what I do. Then I don't have any problems. But not to minimize that at all. What I'm saying is that they'll go and will ask and knock on the door. I was a once, maybe twice, if I had to go back to the house. Then I issued a summons. Now every officer is different. If we're like, so for instance, you're telling me this is a repeated situation over and over and over again. Then it becomes, for me, I have a zero tolerance policy for that. Okay, so I don't have any problem sending, doing specific targeted enforcement on an area that has repeated loud parties. Because those parties are usually the ones that get out of control. You know, those are the ones where the teenage kids are all over the place, there's parents not home. Right, okay, right. So yes, that's a continued source of issues that start with parties. Now, we can't prevent the party from happening unless there are specific requirements that aren't being met. So we had a big problem in the 3rd precinct, and years ago in the 2nd, Joe, remember we had the mansion parties where people would just take over foreclosed mansion. Remember that, June? Terrible situation. But we were able to shut a lot of those down because they didn't have the permits. They didn't have the fire marshal came in and did a great job shutting them down. We did enforcement, vehicle and traffic enforcement, and we were able to stop them before they went. Now it's with advertised parties sometimes have a problem. Well, the way we address that is, again, through our real-time crime center with our analysts that look for social media, and we can get in front of the problem before it actually starts. I've actually gone down with body-worn camera, spoke to the person, laid down the rules of what I expect, and if you don't follow them, this is what's going to happen. Plus getting a consent to search so I can get into the house, because I can't just barge into someone's house without a warrant.
I don't know, but so if these people keep doing this year after year, summer after, week after week.
Right. Well, again, I need to get your specific address. I need to talk about the houses that you're focusing in on, and we're coming up on summer. We're going to create a list of problem locations and problem houses that we'll need to do some enforcement on. So I have no problem with that at all, and that's my commitment to you.
So
Joe.
just so you know, I'm 2 streets away from you, and I just talked to them about that noise.
Hold on, June.
We have
Go
the
ahead.
same.
I could also review what our town code is and what options that we have as well, as far as enforcement for code enforcement. After we're all done.
I didn't catch your name.
Joe Rose.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
May I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. My name is Rosemary.
Hi, Rosemary.
I live in Huntington. I have an issue. I know it's not the end of the world, but on the Saturday before Easter, I was preparing a big Easter dinner, and I look out the window, and there's a gal with a pit bull, and they're up on my property, and the dog is defecating. So I couldn't go outside, so I knocked on my window, and I went like this to her. So she pulled the dog away, and I really didn't think much of it. The next day, Easter Sunday, after all my company left, I look out the window, and she's out there again. Same dog, defecating up close to my front door now. She's way up on my property. So this time I actually went outside, took her picture, and I said, I need to memorialize you and who you are. And I went to take her picture, and she assaulted me.
Okay.
She hit me, my phone went flying,
Right.
Cracked the phone, and I made a police, she left, I made a police, called 911, made a police report, and nothing, but nothing has been done about it. I am really at a loss. I hadn't seen her for several weeks until yesterday. Yesterday, I saw her, she was in front of my house again, almost in a taunting way, not with the dog, just with her.
Okay, so let me cut you off right there. Okay, I'm taking what you're saying very seriously. You have obviously some police documentation in your hand that's going to contain some type of central complaint number that we have.
I can give you the officer who is handling it.
Okay, that's fine.
And I have all the photos.
Yeah,
which I won't.
you could see Jamie, and I promise we'll have a follow-up and somebody will contact you, okay? 100% to give you the status of the case. But you're willing to press charges on the person slapping you?
Well, yes, but most important, I don't want her anywhere near my property.
Well, in order for that to happen, you would have to have an order of protection. And the only way
I feel
that
she's so young, I don't think I'm going to be able to
I
get
don't know, but you'd have to have an accusatory instrument filed with a court to actually get a restraining order to prevent it from coming to your house. So let's look into what the status of that case is. It happened around Easter. I don't know what the circumstances are, but we'll have somebody look into that and they will get back to you. Okay, she'll make sure of that.
Thank you.
Okay? So, ma'am.
I have a little bit of an issue. We moved into my home in 1967, and it took me 10 years to get a stop sign there,
Okay?
and nobody stops.
Okay?
We have 4 autistic children. We have 1 adult autistic child, young man, and we have about 5 or 6 young children in the area there.
Okay.
What can I do? I had a police person once, and then we had, my husband was in CBS News, and there was a news thing there, and she left, and that was the end.
All I can tell you is we'll get the address, we'll get the stop sign, and we'll
It's
do
there.
enforcement.
The stop sign is
No,
there.
I know that. I'll get the exact location of where it's located,
Okay.
and then we'll send some CSU guys to do the enforcement.
Thank you.
Karen, you want to make an announcement? She's from Legislator Donnelly's office.
Hi, thank you. That's Inspector.
Yep.
It's nice to have you here. I'm here for Legislator Donnelly. Those who don't know me, I'm Karen. And he is in your home. He's at the third precinct.
Yes.
Meeting tonight.
Yep.
So I get to be here in his place tonight.
With him at the Puerto Rican Day Parade on
Yes.
Sunday.
I don't know if any of you can read the statistics. They estimate there are going to be 60% more hurricanes this year, the worst hurricane season ever, 16 to 19 named storms. So with that in mind, Legislator Donnelly, with a lifetime in public service, 30 years in the FDNY, just celebrated 40 years as a volunteer at the Suffolk Fire Department, and Legislator Rebecca Sannon, who's the gentleman here today,
Who was the honoree Grand Marshal at the Puerto Rican Day Parade.
and her background is in nonprofits and empowering people. They said, what can we do to help people? So they have set up and planned an emergency preparedness seminar for this Thursday. It is 1 hour, so we encourage everyone to come out. It's at the Dix Hills Fire Department Station, not where you vote, the one that's south of the LIE. If anyone has kids and goes to the Halloween, it's there. It is 1 hour. You're going to learn how to prepare, because the best way to recover is to have preparation in advance. You're going to take home a lot of great tips. Guarantee if you don't take home one great tip, we'll give you your money back. We're going to have snacks. It's an hour, 6 to 7. Legislator Donnelly, Legislator Sannon, and Fire Rescue and Emergency Services.
What time,
Come
Karen?
down. 6 to 7.
6 to 7.
1 hour.
Okay.
That's it. And we promise you're going to take home
Right.
great tips. And also, just a shout out Lizzie from Summerlin Extension.
Do you have anything? You have anything from Legislator Sannon at all? No? Okay.
Anybody want a flyer?
Question, can we
Yes.
come film it and put it
Sure,
on our
we'd love it.
YouTube?
That would be great.
So we have just a resource for people who can't
That
make
would
it.
be great.
Okay,
It's really
great.
good information. It's how to set up for the alerts, for, let people know where your pets are, where your children are, where you guarantee you're going to take home some.
All right, great.
So, 60% more storms this year, 16 to 19. And those of us who feel like Hurricane Sandy was yesterday,
Oof. That's terrible.
remember what it was like and how to be prepared. Preparing is not going out for milk and water.
Yep.
There's other preparations, so, and bread.
Ken, you have anything?
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Shoot.
You touched on earlier that second precinct anti-crime is busy, which
Yes,
is a great thing.
yeah.
I'm all for that. But is the FAST team still around, or was the anti-crime guys taking over?
So fast is no longer.
Okay.
Anti-crime team are generic to each precinct. Each precinct has their own anti-crime team. The sergeant, usually 4 officers, 4 to 5. Fast became warrants. So warrants, they go after felony warrants, people that are, wanted.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a countywide unit. And they're attached to the Homeland Security Bureau. Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else? Sir?
I have to bring up the Precinct thing. Inspector Williams is well aware of, and since this lady brought up, got a stop sign.
Yes.
Earl Road.
Okay.
It runs between Wolf Hill and Old Country Road.
Okay.
It's a speedway.
Hmm.
Every day when school is in session, from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, it's nothing but a speedway. With the kids from school, the school buses. In fact, I think, Jamie, you might remember when
Yeah.
you came to arrest me last year? Okay? She's back, by the way. The white-haired lady is back with bus number 1009 and doesn't stop for the stop sign.
All right, well, we'll do some enforcement.
You said there's increased site teams?
Yes.
It won't help now. Benign neglect, summer's here. Every time they put it up, I see Depot Road, New York Avenue, Route 110.
Mhm.
I don't see Earl Road, right?
Okay, that was just for site. That has nothing to do with CSU. So,
But I don't see, last week there was a car there or no? 2 days in a row. But when I say it's...
So we had a car there 2 days in a row?
Yeah, at 11 o'clock to 11:30,
Okay.
okay? No action, they let the cars just drive through. Next day, same thing. Okay? I've written letters to every town official, right? To Assemblyman Donnelly and Assemblyman Stern, right? Somebody's gonna get killed.
Okay.
That's plain and simple.
All right, so
When you talk about, you know, education,
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of it has to do with people that don't think ahead. I mean, I'm out, I get my mail, and there's a woman walking down. I said, excuse me, you know, not for anything else, but for safety reasons, for your safety, you should walk facing traffic. Yeah, what do you know? The next day you see him, you know, okay? Last week, last month, when the car was there, right, 2 people walked. Now, he's on the car is parked on the opposite side of the car, looking at the stop sign. And these 2 people walk around the corner and walk up on the grass, right past his window. It would have been nice if we would have.
Okay, so we need to do some enforcement in that area between the hours that you
I've been
said.
asking
So,
for 4 years.
okay, well, we had a car there, you said twice for 2 days in a row. They didn't come during the times that you'd mentioned. So we'll send them during the times that you mentioned, and hopefully that'll make a difference.
Have you spoken to the town's traffic safety department?
Yes, I have. I wrote them all letters.
Yeah.
And in fact, one of the biggest problems, right, is during, when school lets out.
That you said.
All the cars picking up all the parents, they park in the no parking zones along Pigeon Hill Road, Wolf Hill Road, obstruct traffic, they park in the roadway.
Yeah,
Okay?
sounds like we need to do some enforcement.
I mean, the town could go there and chase them, right?
Oh, you mentioned, you're talking to me, so let me do it from the police
Okay.
perspective.
I appreciate it.
No problem.
Inspector Williams, when you talk to him, tell me something.
Okay. I'm not talking to him. He's in Europe. He's not gonna get a call from me. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, if you don't mind, I will just say something on behalf of legislator Stan, and it's just that we moved about a month ago. We're now located in Huntington Station. We used to be located in COMMACK.
Okay.
The address is 315 Walt Whitman Road, so I just wanted to let you know.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anybody else?
Deputy, I would just like to say my name is Bob.
Yes.
I would
Hello,
just
Bob.
like
I
to
met
say
you before.
This
Go
has
ahead.
to do with CBS on
Yes.
Depot Road.
Yes.
I would just like to say thank you to you, to Kevin, okay, to the COPE unit, and Suffolk County, the police cars that come up there. You guys been doing a great job. We still
Thank you.
have a problem.
Yeah.
But it's a lot better than it was last year.
Yeah. It was
I just
bad. It
wanna
was bad
say
when I was
thank you
here
very much.
in 22. It was bad.
Thank you.
So. Anybody else? We all good? Thank you very much for coming.